This video is a recording from the MenProvement Podcast, brought to you by MenProvement.com, the #1 self-improvement resource strictly for men. Go there today to see all podcasts, improve yourself as a man, and get access to 3 free ebooks, including one that will help you triple your testosterone naturally. Thank you and enjoy. Welcome back to the MenProvement Podcast. This is episode 7.
Ready to take your life to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Get all the information you need to be better, improve everything, and live life like a pro. This is the MenProvement Podcast with Sean Russell.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the MenProvement Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Russell, a self-improvement enthusiast who is obsessed with taking his life to the next level. And I created this podcast to help myself and men from all around the world do just that. The topic of today's show is a very interesting one, and I'm pretty excited about it. It is how to get laid in 5 weeks. And before you jump to any conclusions about this possibly being immature, I thought the same thing at first, but then I really thought about it, and it dawned upon me that a lot of guys really need this. You know, that's the beauty about this podcast, is that there's going to be episodes that are purely for married guys, episodes that are purely for overweight guys. And this is an episode that is purely for guys who may be virgins, may have no social circle and no social skills, and really are struggling with self-confidence and self-image because they really have nothing going on in their life in the lady department. And I don't care, who you are, at the core molecular level, our instincts are all about survival and reproduction, and pretty much 90% of what men do at some level boils down to getting women and getting laid. And the beauty about this episode is that I have someone on here who has been through this. He was pretty much at ground zero, and he dedicated his life to improving himself. And he did it, and through that, he created this process that can help any man in the lowest of positions sexually and with women, whether you're a virgin, meet girls, get a girlfriend, get laid, and start to kickstart his sex life. And beyond sex, if you're a virgin and it's not by choice, and you really don't know what you're doing with women, it's going to echo upon every area of your life. It's going to affect you at work. It's going to affect you with your friends. It's just going to affect your confidence in general. And by simply going out and learning how to meet women and learning how to have sex, it's going to really improve your life. And it can be the thing that helps you meet that perfect woman, when you're 30 years old, because God forbid you're that guy who's a 40-year-old virgin and you have no social skills, and you meet the woman of your dreams and you miss out on your opportunity because you never learned how to do this stuff. So I'm really excited about this show, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. So my guest today is Jerrad Ross, and he's actually known as Rooster. He's a member of the Good Looking Loser community, and he's a pretty big figure over there. I don't know if you remember episode 3 with Chris from Good Looking Loser, but they're all about hardcore self-improvement, and this is pretty hardcore, and it's, all their stuff is absolutely incredible. So I'm going to introduce him in a second, but I want to talk about his backstory real quick because I want people to be inspired, and I want you to know what you're going to get from this episode. Jerrad was he was starting from scratch, and throughout the episode, it really dawned upon me about how nervous he was. I mean, he was shaking on his first dates and everything. And now he's an absolute pro at meeting women, and he helps guys do it all the time. So I want you to be inspired if you're in a position and you're nervous about even thinking about talking to a girl or going on a date. I want you to know it's okay to be nervous because, it takes time, and you can get anywhere. You can get to where Jerrad is, and you can do anything. So listen to this program, listen to this podcast, because it's going to teach you applicable steps to be able to go from 100% ground zero virgin to meeting women, dates every week, and having sex. It's not going to be any theory. It's just going to be how you do it. So enjoy this episode, and thanks for coming on, Jerrad. How are you, man?
Great, man. How you doing?
Good. Sorry for that super long intro, but I just
It's
really,
good, man.
yeah, I really wanted to give a good background on this show because I think it's a great topic, and I love that you created this book. I mean, what sparked you to create a book like this and a program like this in the first place?
Yeah, so basically, several years ago, I never got laid, and it took a lot of time, took a lot of effort, and I eventually created a guide on Good Looking Loser to help guys get laid. It's helped tons, helped virgins, but basically, there's a lot of steps between, right now where the average guy is and being able to completely, get laid at least like once a week. So I've created a program, every step, everything that I had an obstacle with is in it. I was a complete anxiety, nervous wreck that didn't know how to look good. So I made sure everything that I've dealt with is in the book. And yeah, super stoked about it.
Yeah, it's cool, man. So essentially, you lived it. You were a real nervous guy, and you went out and you figured out a way to change that, and now you help guys do it. And it's really cool, man. So before we jump into your program, are there any things guys should be doing before they start your program?
Basically, everybody's going to be at a different spot. Some guys need to first focus on, if they're extremely overweight, just deal with things like that. It will totally make it be worth it in the long run. Also, set goals. If you're trying to get laid, it may not happen right away. But if you've never been on a date, then a goal should be getting on a date. And then the next step after that is, get a girl to your house, next step after that, going for sex, and just label it out, set goals, set plans, and yeah, don't have your expectations too high. But if you keep at it, you'll eventually get it.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful, man. Goals are incredible for any part of improving your life, and it doesn't change for something like getting laid. If you do this kind of stuff and you follow all the stuff that we're going to talk about in this episode, you don't be discouraged if you go out and your first date doesn't go well. Set that's a huge thing. You just went on a date. Set goals like that and be, celebrate your small victories and then move forward and just keep progressing. It's called, how to get laid in 5 weeks. So for some, it may take 1 week, and for some, it may take 10 weeks. But I love how you said, beforehand, you should focus on your appearance a little bit and maybe hit the gym, because chances are, if you are listening to this and you are a virgin, you may or may not have the worst style ever. You may, wear clunky New Balance sneakers with your jeans and, be a little bit overweight, and maybe learn about style a little bit, get a haircut, hit the gym, and gain a little bit of confidence there before starting a program like this. Maybe put an extra month in there just to start changing your life, because like we said, this is a self-improvement program that can change your life, literally. So, you may as well combine other things with it. So I love how you said that. So we'll jump into the program now. And I noticed when I read your book that it's all pretty much about online dating. Why online versus in person?
Yeah, so guys, the average guy, they're super anxious. They're really nervous around women. There's a whole lot of problems with just the lack of experience. If you're online, you can set up dates basically, at the comfort of your own home, Sunday afternoon in your boxers, eating chicken wings. Versus if you're if you want to go approach a girl at the mall, there's so many other factors in there. You could be super anxious, you could stutter, you can just be too nervous to approach a girl, and then not knowing how to have a conversation, get her number. There's a whole bunch of extra problems or obstacles with during the day. And online dating is just the first step, much easier, and you can set up a lot. Quality definitely is there.
Yeah, man, I agree with that whole statement, because me in the last 3 to 4 months, my life has been pretty much dedicated to meeting women during the day. I sucked at it, and I never really did it because of my past was always a party guy and the soccer captain in college. So I always could get girls, and I never approached a woman in my life. And then I graduated college. I lost my persona. My social group moved away and got crazy jobs in like freaking the city and like an hour away. So I was kind of by myself. And then it's like, bam, zero sex life. So part of what I do is just to improve every area of my life so I can teach other people to do it. And this summer has been my time to meet women. And like you said, it takes a long time. I've been doing it for 3 to 4 months and I'm finally like really good at it. But if you're looking to kickstart things and if you have never, you have no confidence with women, it's going to be a lot easier to go the online route. I definitely think that at some point, everyone who's listening to this should learn how to cold approach women. And even if you're in a relationship, you should just learn how to, approach people in general, because chances are you can't, because most people can't. And it's an incredible skill to have. And you're going to suck at first. It's, it's part of the process. And then you're just going to become an incredibly confident person. And you're going to meet people anywhere and be able to hold conversations. And it's great. Just wanted to throw that in there. So, but yeah, online, that's what the program is. And I definitely think it's the way to go for speed. So you're probably going to have some anxiety about the dates and everything. So yeah, what would you suggest to guys who, they've never even been on a date and they're like, oh, this is great, but like, I'm super nervous to even talk to a girl?
Yeah, that's, I remember my first date was actually this, like the first like 3 or 4 dates. I was just, I was like a complete mess. I was like, my heart was beating a mile a minute. I was even like shaking a bit. And, some guys will like go pound some booze back, but that'll just make you messy. For the biggest cure of that is just experience. Over time, you get used to it. There's some aids that can help give you an edge, like kratom or phenibut. I'm not sure if you heard about it. I talk a bit about it in the book. Basically, kills anxiety. And, but yeah, just, don't, you're going to be nervous. I was super nervous, but, over time, you'll get better at it. So just set up as much dates as you pretty much can.
Yeah. I mean, there's really no way around it. You're going to be nervous your first dates, and until you do them, you're not going to get past them. It's kind of a bitch, but it's the only way to really go. So we'll jump into your book. So it's online dating, and that's the way to go if you want speed. So what sites do you recommend?
Yeah. And just one thing, the last part, usually after the last 10 minutes of a date, you're like, you should be completely comfortable. It's just that first little bit.
Yeah.
So like nerve wracking. And then usually 9 times out of 10, you'll be like just talking to a friend. But yeah, as the other question, basically the best dating sites are Plenty of Fish, OkCupid, and Tinder. Those are generally girls that are not like too heavily relationship focused. If you go on a site like eHarmony, you have to fill out like 100 questions. You have to like pay, I'm not sure how much it is. And then you'll get girls that are pretty much husband seekers and will, for the most part, it'll take a while to get to sex. Although other sites are still mostly relationship focused, you get girls that are, more, looking to have fun and are more willing to have sex with you within the first few dates. But yeah, there's a mixed bags, but generally those 3 are the best, and ideally get on at least 2 of them.
Yeah. I mean, I've used POF and Tinder. I've never used OkCupid, but actually I did a piece with someone from another website the other day, which was the top 15 dating apps. And yeah, there's crazy ones out there. And I think when it comes down to it, Tinder and Plenty of Fish and OkCupid, you can't beat it. There's some weird ones, there's one called Carrot Dating where you actually bribe girls to go on dates with you, which is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I just wrote a whole article on that. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so we've covered, you're starting from nowhere. You want to get into the online world, you know what sites to go on, and if you need it, revamp your appearance a little bit, take a look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, would a woman really want to sleep with me? And I'm not saying that looks wise, because no matter what you look like, you can get women. It's just about hygiene and, having some respect for yourself and, ironing your shirt and things like that. So that's basically the start. You're on the online world, and now what do you do? What's important?
Yeah, so The pictures are just everything. Online dating is so competitive with how you look. When a girl's looking to meet some guy, she's not going to tell your personality. She's deciding on how good you look. And but fortunately, there's ways to make yourself look the best. Obviously, if you have like a Facebook, you can choose the best pictures there. You can use selfies, but if selfies are kind of like, a lot of girls don't like them, but if you have like one where you have like your best clothes on, your haircut, bronzer, you put it in the best like lighting, whatever, you'll end up looking really good. And it's all about how attractive you are. A girl doesn't really care if you're climbing Mount Everest. She would rather have you look sexy. That's basically the core, most important thing you need to focus on online.
Yeah, no, definitely, because like you said, no one knows anything about you. You can't display body language. You can't display body language. You can't give a good eye contact. So it's all about your pictures. And I know some stats that, because I've been researching this to write an article. It's actually pretty funny that there's proven studies that when you're looking away from the camera in your picture, that 70% of men, you'll get like 70% more messages if you're looking away in your picture than when you're staring at the camera. And it's pretty bizarre, but it's a pretty interesting tip, because I guess girls want to be able to check you out without you noticing subconsciously in real life. And it actually translates to the online world, because men are the opposite. Women have a higher success rate when they're looking at the camera in their pictures, because, we want to connect, I guess, emotionally. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. I thought that was really interesting when I learned it the other day. That could definitely help you. Are there any other picture tips you want to throw in there before we move on?
Professional shots can be good to use. Don't do the typical like photo shoot with some weird background. If you are gonna spend the money, which you don't have to, but if you do want to take all advantages, kind of have it look more natural, kind of have it just look like a regular picture that's done really well and you look kind of good on. Harder than said than done, but basically, just have your best outfit, best look, and you should be able to pull that off with the right photographer.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you think about mirror selfies with the shirt off and everything? Is that a no-go, or?
Well, the thing with that is it can work, but if you're going with like the mirror selfie, like almost like douche type look, which can definitely work, but it's kind of generally appeals to a certain crowd, girls that are like, if you can look like super sexy, which is what Chris does from Good Looking Loser. Yeah. He can meet girls super soon that are down to fuck like quickly, but there's a lot less of them. If you're looking for experience, generally just the best thing is to appeal to like the largest crowd, the largest percentage of girls willing to meet. And generally stay away from that. But your shirt on and pants is generally a good call.
Yeah, no, true. Yeah, the more like risky you go with anything, even in person, like the more direct you go. If you were to walk up a girl and say, "Oh, I want to fuck you," it's gonna work with some girls, but you're gonna knock out 90% of girls because it's not gonna work with them. So when you're starting off, it's best to just do something that's gonna work with like the highest percentage. Yeah, that's great advice. So, all right, man. So what's next? How do you message these girls? Is there any specific way in messages that you send?
Yeah, well, a lot of sites, first off, have like a messaging limit. Plenty of Fish used to announce that. Now they've kept it under wraps. Generally, it's best to send about 30 messages a day. They have a limit. If you send exactly the same message more than 3 times, they'll block all messages for about 48 hours. Same thing happens. Oh, there's one other thing. What the hell is it?
You're cutting off a little bit, dude.
Oh, anyway. If you send too many messages, Plenty of Fish will block you off. But basically, send us something super simple, like, "Hey, what's up? I'm Jerrad. You seem cool. How's it going?" Or find something in their profile to say, "Hey, you snowboard too? How was XYZ mountain? Have you gone up there?" Or just something super simple. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't spend too too long on it either. If you're sending 30 messages a day on each site, it can take a lot of time. So yeah, keep it simple and hit the numbers hard.
Yeah, man. So it's a numbers game, really, because if you're really trying to, you know, get laid fast and you're sending it to 3 girls, it's, you know, they could easily all not answer back. It's like real life, you know. If you approach 30 girls, you're probably going to get at least 10, no, maybe not 10, I don't know, 5 to 10 numbers. Yeah, so it sounds kind of spammy, but I feel it, you know. I definitely could see how it works.
Definitely. I know it's hard to set a number, but if you only get one meet out of just say 100 messages send, that's not necessarily bad, you know, because you can send 100 in a couple days, so you can probably do that 2-3 times a week. Suddenly you got 3 dates a week, so overall that's not bad. If you're getting discouraged, just 9 times out of 10, you just need to hit the numbers harder or get better pictures.
All right, cool, man. That's cool. Yeah, so I actually skipped over the part where we talk about what's in what these guys should put in their profile, because I know like Tinder doesn't have profiles, but on POF and OkCupid, you're gonna have to write something about yourself. How do you typically go about it?
Yeah, I find a lot of guys will write like essays, like this massive like book on their profile.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just put something simple, maybe anything interesting about you, like what you do, or if you play football or something. For most of the time, the girls are more looking for ways to disqualify you, any red flags. So if you type a lot of stuff, you know, there'll be more reason for her to find something that she doesn't like about you. So yeah, maybe a paragraph, a bit about yourself, a bit about what you're looking for. And even if you're looking for sex, don't say you're looking for sex. Maybe a cool girl to hang out with. And yeah, keep it simple. Doesn't have to be perfect. And yeah, that's about it.
That's a good point. Yeah, you know, you don't have to go straight up like I'm looking for sex. That brings us back to that, you know, 10% rule. It might work for like one girl out there, but you know, chances are you finding her are pretty tough. All right, so we know what to send them, you know, just be pretty simple. Hey, what's up? You know, I saw your profile, thought you were cute. I'm into snowboarding too. You know, that's the first message. So how long do you usually go back and forth before you ask them out?
Generally, about 4 to 6 exchanges of messages, can be a bit less, a bit more. The problem with sending a lot is if you keep talking to a girl and sending messages, and then it turns out she's not interested in meeting, you know, that's a bummer. That's a big waste of time, and you'll be dependent on the conversations going right. When most of the time, a girl won't meet you. Most girls are just looking for somebody to talk to or a friend. So keep it short. Most girls if they find you attractive and there's no like red flags in your profile and they're willing to meet somebody, you can set up a date within generally 4 to 6 exchanges of messages. So that's about like 8 to 12 total messages.
Yeah. How do you do it? What do you just say? Like, hey, do you want to grab drinks, or you want to go get some dinner, or do you ask for a number? So after the initial message, it's good to not talk like an interview too much. You know, that's say on dates, you can easily just like make it seem completely boring, generic questions. You can keep talking about something that's in a profile. Sometimes you can just like ask like, what's the best things about yourself personality wise? That's something I used to do. And then just go back and forth a few times, stuff like that. To set up the date, I'll generally say we should chill sometime or anything like that. And that's basically all you need. And then from then, I usually set up the dates, plenty of fish, or if not, you can grab her number, tell her to put her number down, grab it, then text her or call her and set up the date from there. Yeah, man. I'm interested because I know you said that you were, you know, you started doing this as a newbie. So is that how you know, did someone else tell you about this, or did you just sit out and you were like, shit, you know, I'm not getting any results. I'm going to figure out how to do this. And then did it just kind of fall into place? Is this like exactly what you did the first time and it just worked? How long did it take you the first time?
It was a lot of trial and error. I remember, like, in the beginning, mind you, I had shitty pictures. I had shitty everything.
Yeah.
I was just winging it. Sometimes I would tell a girl that she's beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I would just not apply a lot. I tried everything. It was a lot of trial and error. And then over time, I started getting the hang of it. And I started meeting, like, ugly girls and better looking girls and more girls, etc.
Yeah, man. I would imagine that you're like the expert now, you know. Are you still a single dude?
Yeah, well, I have a bit of an open relationship. So I don't go out and meet girls too often but you know, once in a while, if I'm feeling a little mix up, I'll definitely hit up Plenty of Fish, or I'll go approach, because if you can approach, like we were saying earlier, it's actually like the best potential for looks. Like if you can approach 100 women and send 100 messages on Plenty of Fish, you can get way better girls approaching. But like we said, that's a lot harder and, you know, easier said than done because of anxiety and nervousness.
Yeah, that's one for another podcast. Yeah, but I would imagine, that's cool though. I would imagine that you have no trouble right now if you were like, oh, I'm in the mood for like a new girl. It's like, bam, 2 days later. It's a good skill to have. But all right, so you set up these dates with these girls, you know, after a couple messages, you keep it light and friendly, stay away from the interview questions. So this is a big part, you know, and I'm actually really interested in this because, like I said, I've been doing the approaching and stuff, and I was always a college party guy, you know, where I'd just get laid in college parties and, you know, have fuck buddies at school, and no dates. Like, I never did dates, not even in high school, you know, it was high school parties. And now I'm like busy all the time. So I never went on a date until like a week ago. I've been approaching girls like crazy. I'm pretty good at it. And I went on, you know, my first one-on-one date. I brought a girl back to my, you know, a couple times, but even without dating, approaching, you know, just first day bring backs. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I pretty much suck at dating too. So how do you handle the date? You know, let's just start from the beginning. Start from what you wear, what you
doing. And well, first thing, once you get her number, if you can, unless you have super anxious, it's better to call her than not. Some girls, you know, they're meeting some random dude on the internet. If they can like hear your voice and talk to them before the date, there's a lot less chance of them flaking. And even then, girls flake tons of times. Don't expect them to always meet. I'll still get at least a quarter to a third of my girls that I eventually like set up a date online to flake. So that's just expect them to flake at least once in a while. But yeah, so the date, I'll generally set it up for a drink. Generally my go-to place. It's easy. If they're underage, I'll do a coffee. I don't like movies because, I mean, if you go for a movie at the movie theater, you're not talking to her. You can't really turn her on if she's just staring at a screen.
Yeah, it could get awkward unless you are good, which, you know, if you're just starting out, you're not going to be good. So
yeah, exactly. So I'll take, generally, depends. Sometimes I'll take my Phenibut, which I said can help anxiety, but I don't need any more. Just
talk about that stuff for a second, because I don't know anything about it really.
Yeah, Chris talks about on Good Looking Loser, preaches about it too. It's a legal supplement that's made in, I think, Russia. It's like a very subtle version of a benzo, but I've never had benzo. That's just what apparently they're compared to.
Yeah, I've had a few benzos in my day. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it kind of just kills anxiety. Hard to explain, but there is a bit you should have known. You should never take it really more than twice a week. There is potential for addiction, but if you keep it twice a week, and you're not super addictive personality, I don't see any problem with that. I've been using it for years, and yeah, it can really. I know when I started out, it was probably the make or break reason. A handful of times whether I got laid because I really needed it. So definitely look into that. Same thing with kratom. That's similar, but we can talk about that another time. It's a big topic.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something to think about if you're like, you know, sweating through your shirt, nervous. But like you said, man, be careful, because I know benzos, how ridiculously addicting those things are. Stay away from those things, and you know, everything's got some sort of dependency. And I'm sure withdrawals if you took them more than 2 days. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So usually take them to coffee or lunch. Maybe ice cream. How do you keep the conversation flowing?
So before I go on the date, one thing I'll usually tell her before we get there, hey, meet me up at the bar, because we're usually going for a drink.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that, because sitting across from her at a table can be like super nerve wracking because you're staring each other down. If there's an awkward silence, you guys are looking at each other. That's like fucking hell. So if you're at the bar, you're side by side each other. There's an awkward silence, whatever. You can just like pretend you're watching the game. Also, it's easier to touch her. It's good to touch her a bit, act like a bit sexual if you can. Obviously, if you're super nervous, you might not be able to do that, but it's good too. But yeah, before I get there, have a couple things in the back of your mind in case you ever have an awkward silence or something you want to ask her. It could be basic questions like, do you ever travel or stuff like that? Try to not have too much of them. Again, it's kind of like an interview type of question, but just have stuff in the back of your mind in case of an awkward silence, because that's like the most dreaded thing apparently with dating. And so they'll talk about anything. It's hard to kind of teach how to talk because most of it comes from experience and confidence and flirting, which will come with experience. So for the most part, just kind of go with it.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's hard to tell people like, oh, there's no scripts, you can't just go, oh, say this. It's like approaching women. The best way you do it is by just sucking at first, just expect to not be awesome conversationalists the first couple dates, and to be nervous, and awkward silences are going to be there, but eventually they're only awkward if you think they're awkward. There might be silences later on in your dates and it's just like relaxing to you. I find that sometimes with talking to women, if it just goes quiet, it's like the best moment because something about it, you can just stare at her,
Yeah, that's sweet.
But yeah, practice makes perfect. All right, exactly. So you finally got the girl on a date, blah blah blah. It doesn't mean really anything unless you can escalate and pull her back home. So how do you usually go about that?
So in the beginning, I never actually went to get the girl to my house on the first date. One thing, I didn't know how, but I was kind of nervous. I didn't know how to do it. If you can do it on the first date, then do it. But it's not a bad idea to just ask her to your house on the second date to come rent a movie. So yeah, basically that's what I do. We have a drink, we chat. I really don't go over like an hour and a half in one beer. I don't want to like drink a shitload or spend a lot of time if I'm never going to see this girl again anyway. Yeah. Before the date, I'll be like, oh, in about an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever, I got to go home and do some work on my computer. And she's like, okay, that's cool. Hour and a half later, I say, okay, I got to go. If you want, we can go rent a movie after at my house. And if she's down, sweet. You got an excuse to go to your house and watch a movie, which is obviously not necessarily going to be a movie. It's more of trying to get her in her pussy. But basically, you just got to have an excuse to get to your house and saying work before and going from there.
Yeah, definitely. What would you suggest to guys who live at home?
Yeah, well, I actually, most of the time I was basically at home, and I fortunately had parents that were cool with me bringing girls. They didn't exactly like it, but they didn't stop me. And it was honestly like, I didn't like doing it, but it was the reason that I got laid. If I didn't do this, I wouldn't have got nearly as much pussy as I did get without bringing girls home. So if you can bring girls home to your house, your parents don't stop you. Highly encourage you to do it. There are other ways. A decent percentage of girls are fine going to their house. Not all of them. You can also try to do it in their car, but if you can't do it and you're super serious about getting girls, it might be a good idea to look to move out.
Yeah, definitely. No, because I know it was tough for me my parents are cool too, but when I would, I would feel awkward about it, It was just like one of those things. Like I could have done it, but that really held me back with girls. But yeah, no, it's great. So it's a pretty simple process from what I'm gathering. It's all about actually doing it. It's easy to listen to this podcast and be like, sitting in your house, turn it off and then go watch porn and forget about it. But if you really are struggling with your sex life, and you want to have women, you want to start getting confidence, you want to change, this process will work if you do it. And if you are serious about it, you should definitely check out Jerrad's book, because this is only like a glimpse of what's in it. You get details and checklists and everything. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You get checklists. So like, okay, I've done this. It makes things a lot easier. So after, so say you succeed, hooray, like you got laid. That's fucking sweet. How, what would you suggest? Are there any extra tips for, like, I guess, keeping a girl around either as a girlfriend or, maybe a fuck buddy or something like that?
Yeah. For one thing, generally speaking, it's the guys that generally label the relationship, that try to make it, a fucking relationship. You'll be surprised. A lot of girls are more often than not fine just fucking you for at least a few months without, committing to anything. So the best way to get a girl to stick around is, one thing, fuck her like very well. If you can make her come, she's not going to go find somebody else to make her come. So that of course takes time, that takes experience. So that's probably the biggest thing. Number two is don't act like a boyfriend. Don't see her every day of the week. Don't text her all the time. You're only a fuck buddy in the beginning, so don't pretend like you're something else. And yeah, those two are basically the biggest. Just see her, maybe once a week, and then eventually she might ask to, commit to or label the relationship, but you can deal with that at least several months after you started fucking.
Yeah, man, that's, it's good to hear to me, because that's been one of my biggest problems right now, is that I almost feel bad, like going up and meeting a girl on the street and like getting her number, and then I almost feel like, oh, if I bang this girl, then I'm like involved, like I kind of owe her something, it definitely holds me back. I don't know where I developed that thought pattern, but I don't know. It's like, but in college it was different, because I was honestly the fuck buddy guy. I had like 4 or 5 fuck buddies, and like everyone was fine with it. But now I'm just like, every time I meet a girl and then we go out, and I'm like, I went on the date with this girl, and now it's like I have like a girlfriend vibe going on, and I'm not interested in being like in a relationship with her. So what would you, go expand a little more on that, like kind of making it known that, hey, this is just kind of sexual.
Yeah. Basically, as I said, the boyfriend vibe, if you seem like a guy that gets laid, which is hard to emulate, but if she believes that you get laid a lot, she's not going to expect you to, commit to anything. Which that's a big part of, if you look the part, if you look sexy, if you look edgy, if you look like a guy that gets a lot of pussy, then that's a big part. And yeah, just not acting like a boyfriend.
Sorry, do you like straight up tell them at any point, like, hey, I'm not looking for anything serious, or you just don't mention it?
Yeah, well, usually, now this can change, but I'll be able to fuck her for a few months.
Nice.
And then after, sometimes it can be 3 months, sometimes it can be 6 months or so. She'll be like, okay, where's this going? And there's a couple options. I could straight up tell her, I just want a fuck buddy. That's basically what it is. Or if you're actually looking for eventually possibly having like an open relationship, you can be, oh, you know what? I like this, where this is going. I don't want to label it right now. I think we're heading that direction, but I don't want to ruin anything. I really like what we have, and we should just continue it. And eventually the question will come up, and we'll deal with that then.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. Yeah, because I mean, I'm in no way against being in a relationship, but I'm so busy, and I know a lot of these girls. It's like, I'm not like, you're not the one, blah blah blah. But I know a lot of guys here can use this to find a girlfriend. You know, you don't have to just use this to have like sex all the time. You can use this to find your girlfriend, and you could go out on like 4 or 5 dates with her before having sex with her. This program will still work for you. That's what's so beautiful about it.
Yeah, yeah. And the good thing, like if you're a virgin or inexperienced, getting a relationship and, you know, it'll give you a ton of sexual experience. It's really important to be a good lay. And if you're dating a girl, you'll be able to fuck her a lot. And then that'll help you down the line if you end up breaking up. You'll be more prepared for fucking, basically.
Yeah, and I know it's probably hard to give you know, sex tips just by audio, but is there anything you would suggest to, you know, help a guy who's never had sex? He's gonna have sex for the first time. And he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Yeah, for the most part, if you're having sex with a girl for the first time, you know, it can be a hot thing. So you don't exactly want to make love to her. You want to fuck her. You don't want to be slow and intimate. You want to make it fucking hot. And so be a little bit rough, you know, maybe smack, maybe talk dirty, maybe, you know, put your hand on her neck, tighten it a little bit. Again, all that stuff will come with experience, but yeah, generally don't be all slow and intimate. Just fuck her because it's hot, and that'll keep her coming back.
Yeah, and use protection too.
Yeah, and if you're like me, several years ago when I started, I was always got whiskey dick or limp dick, even when I didn't drink. I was super nervous, so Cialis is super like crucial if you can get it. Sometimes you can go to the doctor. Sometimes you can order it from certain sites online. It can make a huge difference, and not just not be limp, but you also get all the blood flowing there. So you'll actually get like sometimes an extra half inch than you normally wouldn't have. So definitely look into that, because I've probably had at least a half dozen times when I got this smoking hot chick in my bedroom, and then I'm like 2 inches bigger, and now I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, no, I know. And anxiety can be the biggest erection killer ever. Yeah. You know, that and alcohol. So yeah, it's great. That's great advice. I've never tried Cialis myself, but I found that since quitting porn,
yeah,
I have no issues with that anymore, and obviously experience. But yeah, so you know, this has been pretty sweet. I think that guys, you know, if you're sitting at home and you might even have like no social group or anything, this is beautiful because you don't need a social group. You don't need friends. You just need you and your computer, and you can get real women. Do you think this can be done on a very tight budget? I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, the process several years ago when I started, I had a torn ACL for football, so I couldn't work, but I had tons of time to focus on the stuff. But I basically, it was super tight budget. I would basically, if I'm going for a drink, it would be one drink, and it would be whatever on special. But other than the drink, for the most part, you should be able to get tons of lays just being smart with your dollars.
Yeah, so yeah, if you're going on tons of dates, you don't need to be taking girls out to $60 to $100 dinners every time. That's important. That's important to mention. That's great. So I know you just started a blog and a website to help guys who are inexperienced gain more experience. Why don't you? Where can we find your website, and where can people check out your book?
Yeah. So my website /blog is roosterdating.com. My book is on there. Basically, I'll have everything that we talked about and all parts of the book, eventual articles, and covered on my site. But for now, since I just started, I'm kind of limited on the content, but I do have my book, and eventually everything will be on the site anyways. And you'll be able to go there, roosterdating.com.
Yeah, I'm excited to check it out. You know, it's actually launching tonight, which is pretty exciting. Yeah, so this is that's it, guys. You know, it's up to you. If you're dead nervous about meeting women in person, and you don't have a sex life, you're lacking confidence in your life, this can really help you. As you know, as kind of perverted as some people may think it is, this can really improve your life, and you just got to make it happen. it's up to you. You can read as many books as you want, but unless you're doing the steps and following through, it's never going to shitting his pants on his first couple dates. And he was nervous to the point where he couldn't achieve an erection. And now look, he is in an open relationship. He can get girls whenever he wants. He's writing books about it. This is what sparked his change. So you could follow in his footsteps. So I'm really glad that you came on, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Awesome, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah. And, you can find all the links to everything we talked about here in the show notes on menprovement.com/MPP007. And we're going to have, tons of articles on how to have better sex and how to be awesome on dates and all sorts of shit like that. I just wrote like a 5,000 word article on Tongat Aloe extract, which can boost your testosterone. And, it's an amazing aphrodisiac. Stuff is amazing. So we're going to have, everything on there. So definitely check out the website if you have not done that yet. And thanks for coming, guys. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the MenProvement Podcast with Sean Russell. Get more episodes, more tips, and download our free self-improvement ebooks at www.menprovement.com.